Hey everybody, this is Sam with my special guest Sarah. Most of you know who
Hi,
she is.
everybody. How's it going?
Let's do a quick check. Can you hear us both? If you guys could just let us know if you hear and see us. Everybody, yeah.
All right.
Awesome, 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 awesome. To the folks that we saw last week, hello again. We had an awesome mastermind. It was amazing. Martin, see that? I started early for you today, Martin. So we're good to go. Yeah, so that's awesome. We had a great webinar last mastermind last week. Hopefully, you guys can all join us the next time. I think it was like really beneficial for everybody. I even got a lot out of it, but I think the students really enjoyed it. Hopefully, you guys really enjoyed it that were there. And it was just great to meet you guys. I mean, we spent like quality time between like lunch and breakouts and everything else and a few drinks here and there. It was a good time. So let's look forward to it in another few months and hopefully more people can show up. So we got a long agenda and I hope everybody's excited. You guys got my like 17 emails, mostly because I'm super excited about training something I've never trained before, and something that is like the biggest issue that people have. And so, we're just gonna start jumping right in.
Hey, it's Mike here, and we just launched version 7 of our Amazon training course where we walk you through the process of how we sold just in the last 30 days, our first 30 days, over 1,000 products with the brand new ranking strategies that we're now showing to the public. We've trained over 1,000 students, and last year alone we did over $3.2 million online. And if you go to my site, put your credit card away, enter just your first name and your email address, I'll immediately send you a series of free training videos that walk you through the process.
All righty, so here we go. Couple of things I want to talk about. Some of the things are there's a lot of stuff I'm posted on Facebook. There's a lot of things I'm doing that you'll see maybe out of the ordinary, and there's a reason for it. I'm always honest and open with you guys, so I want to explain what's going on, especially with some of this deep dive stuff I'm talking about, some of these other things that I'm doing, the 5-on-5s every month. I'm going to explain it all in a second. I want to spend probably 3 minutes on this just because I feel like I want to explain it and help you guys understand what I'm trying to do. Obviously, you all know anyone that's on here is either a full paid member or a continuity member. And more and more people are going on continuity. And I just want to explain it's important for me to bring value every month and value that's more than what people are paying. So that's something that is really important. And you're going to see some of the things I'm doing to make sure that happens. All right, let's see if I can make this work. All right, so typically, so the monthly deep dives, I mean, today is one, it's pay-per-click. I'm gonna do one a month. I have another one planned next month that's gonna be sourcing product on steroids. There's some things I'm gonna show you guys how to source product. I shared some of the information last week with the mastermind students, and I have so much more to share on that, where folks that are struggling to find products, we're gonna find, I'm gonna show you an easy way to find products and pick off some low-hanging fruit stuff we've never shared before. So I'm going to do a deep dive module on that. I'm going to talk about how to kill it. That's probably another month. It's definitely every module is going to be about an hour and 15 minutes. Whether I do them before the module, the weekly module, or after, or on a recording, I'm not sure yet. We'll decide that as time goes on. I kind of like to do it before so we can have questions, and I don't like doing a different night, just makes it complicated. This seasonal strategy that I'm going to show you guys, basically how to use seasonal strategies to just pick off the market on certain products and just get in and get out during a season. And that's hugely profitable. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that. I've compiled like 10 top secret tactics, however you want to call them, ninja tactics, that I've been testing that I don't think the competition knows about it yet, because based on what I'm seeing, I don't, they clearly don't. So I'm putting together the 10 best that I use. I give you guys most of them, but there are things I'm still testing that I want to do before I share it with you, and that'll probably be ready either September, October. I'm going to show you guys how to quickly create your own mailing list from your own customers and use it to jumpstart your next product, grow your existing product, and propel your website. You know, there's a lot to talk about with regards to website, which reminds me, if you are able to get on tomorrow's call with Mike, do that. It is absolutely not a sales pitch for anything. It really is him teaching, creating a website. He did a really good job, right, Sarah, last week on how to create a website.
Awesome.
It was pretty amazing. So we're going to talk about that. That's going to be a deep dive. We're going to talk about a best way to, actually, I've never even discussed this with anyone. A lot of people will start selling on Amazon just to spin, you know, basically grow their business and then flip it and then start all over again. So I'm going to talk about the best way, some strategies on how to package and position your Amazon business to sell it. And so I think that's going to be an interesting one. So that's going to be, every one of these is going to be a monthly deep dive. So it's not going to all happen at once.
Hey,
We're going to talk about, yeah.
We have a technical issue. There's two screens, but your screen is black.
My screen is black.
All they can see.
Oh, crap. All they can see you. That's probably good for everybody. Let me see. Way better than me. Hold on. All right. How's that? Hold on. Nope. That's it. You guys see that?
All right. Now we can. Okay.
Oh, man. So all you saw was us. Damn, I was reading this whole list. All right. See, that's perfect. See, I wasn't even looking at the questions. So, Sarah, thanks for that. All right. Everyone's good? All righty. I think Mike did this Monday night, same exact thing. So we're talking about, I'm in number 6, how the things we're going to talk about every month. We're going to master Google AdWords and show how to drive traffic to your website and or Amazon product. That's huge. We've never talked about that. We've always talked about Facebook. And I've got a lot more than that. I'm starting to do this monthly 5-on-5. And let me explain what this is. I'm basically going to take 5 students, 5, existing, active students. And on a monthly basis, we are going to meet for 5 hours. That sounds crazy. Now, the students themselves will share their experiences, their questions. We'll go student by student and try to spend about an hour with each student with their specific issues, and others can participate, and then we'll move on to them and see their issues. Now, that won't be recorded because it's going to be a lot of personal information, so it's not going to be recorded. It's actually going to be recorded, but it's only going to be given to the students that are on the on that 5-on-5. I'm not going to put that out for distribution. So that's really important. That's going to be huge. So it's 5 hours of training essentially, because it's really so much easier to collaborate and see other people's issues. So I'm really excited about this. We're going to do that every month, and we're going to rotate it out. So the same students, we're going to go through, like I had so many people actually were interested, and I'm super psyched about that. And every month we're going to go through 5 new students. So we won't continue to have the same students over and over again, but that's a commitment of time, but it's something I think that's going to be incredibly beneficial. It has been beneficial for others in the past, and people have asked me about it. So we're going to try that. People have actually, they do a decade in a day, which is 10 hours. That is not going to happen. That's just 5 hours is a lot. And we'll kind of see how that goes. I hate pop-ups when I'm doing a presentation. Every module, that I talk about while we're talking about the basics of how to rank your product, as you guys know, I'm already every week I'm adding things that help to stay current. The thing I wanted to talk about, nobody ever talks about this, and I'm pretty proud of this, but I got to pat myself on the back. Who isn't if I don't, right, Sarah? Do you guys remember when I talked about reviews, like months, I gave the warning months in before that massive purge, and everyone was like, oh, that's no one saw the danger coming along. Well, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's seriously beneficial. And right now it's relevancy. Relevancy is the huge thing that's impacting Amazon and sellers, and you're going to see how that affects people today. It's affecting the pay-per-click, ranking, categories, keywords, etc. Monthly contests. I'm going to start today with some free contests, things that I'm going to give away on a monthly basis that will actually benefit your business. They're not just random giveaways. There's stuff that I'm talking about that I'll give that will benefit your business. Obviously, we have a ton of discounts. And the goal here is honestly and truthfully to give back more on a monthly basis than what anyone pays. So, I mean, this is kind of I'm not a big seller. You all know this, but people have been asking me. I just want to talk about it. I think I have one more slide. Okay, so that's where you go ranking offer renewals. And this is stuff I say people need to ask. I ask people how much you spend on PPC ads a month. Now, the reality it is to launch a new product, you're saving thousands. We already know that. You're going to save a lot on pay-per-click. Facebook strategies, how much you spend on Facebook. How do you rank your product? You know how much does it cost you to rank your product or business on Google? Do you know anything about Google AdWords? Are you able to create a product, a category-specific mailing list? Blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go through all this, but you see that. What's the next thing? Yeah, this is the last one. Oh, the other thing you get now we've added is, in addition to the Wednesday Night Live webinar with me, which is all really that matters and all that's important and worth everything. Monday Night Live webinars with Mike C and Mike G, sometimes with me, most of the time with me as well. Everyone's welcome to that. That's a student, and all the training, proprietary. I spelled wrong, Sarah. You didn't catch that.
I smirked.
My monthly deep dive series, the 5-on-5, full box of support, and the rank your student discounts. All right, that's the deal with that. All right, so now let's talk about pay-per-click. Do I still have everybody? Oh, we got a pretty good turnout. Look at that. Awesome. It's early, ready to go. I'm full of energy. Are you full of energy, Sarah? You ready to go?
Yeah. So are all these chatty people. I love it.
Yeah, you guys. I usually ignore, like, I try to get to them, but it's hard to do both.
Fun part.
It's nice having a second person. It's so lonely on a Wednesday.
For me.
All right. So today's call. There's 2 calls today. Well, there's 2 webinars today because they're going to be split up. There's a PPC new strategy webinar, and there's going to be our module 6. So you got to remember the way I'm recording this, it's going to be separated. So when I talk about today's call, that's going to be one module, and then webinar, and you'll see in module 6, I'll say today's call too, so that I can split them up. Oh yeah, other point of information. This has been a lot of people come to me about Vimeo. So there's no easy way to do this, but we've actually finished our website. So we're moving and transitioning everything to our own personal website for new students or existing students. So if you're still one of the students that is here and hasn't been on the new website, make sure you reach out to me directly, either Voxer or email, and I'll give you the link where you can create your email address and your password. And it's I think it's pretty organized. Actually, let me show you guys for those that don't have it yet. And I can't keep saying things look good because then I'm a little bit prejudiced, I think. So hold on one second. I want to show you guys what it looks like so I can explain it. All right. All right, just give me a second. You know, I love doing things live. I'm gonna have a lot more live stuff, so it's just gonna get better and better. All right, so I'll expand this so you guys can all see it. So basically, this is the website, and you'll see that every week has a module. I put the date next to them because, as you can see, I haven't updated. Like, I'm just doing module 6, so I'm gonna replace this with the newest module 6, and that one will go away. And I can continue to go on and on and on, then module 12. I also have micro modules here, which is everything we've talked about. It's all named properly, so you can kind of quickly get to it. The other thing is, I try to put exactly what we're talking about on here, but on the module that we talked about hijacking, where is that module? We talked about hijacking. If you notice on the module itself, I actually have the download to the cease and desist letter, so that would make life easier for you guys. I also have the last, there's one here that says updated workbook. If you click on that, that's the most up-to-date, the downloaded Excel spreadsheet. So I try to make this very easy, and hopefully you guys like it. Does it make sense? Everyone's good. Any questions about this? Again, if you haven't, thanks, Sam. If you're trying to get on Vimeo and you can't, send me an email. I'll send you the link. I'm pretty happy. We're going to get much more creative with this. I was just tired of Vimeo, and it was creating problems for me.
Are all the old modules on there?
Yeah, that's a great question. The answer is no to that. Not right now. I mean, I don't have a problem doing it, but I've updated so much material. I mean, there's no problem for me to add in the old module here. I still have them. Let me think through that. Right now, the answer is no. The old modules, the ones I haven't got to yet, are here. Like, for example, module 6, this is still the one from May, but that would be replaced. You know, I don't have a problem putting the old modules here. Let me just think through that. Yeah, okay. So that's a non-answer, I guess. But right now, the current modules are there. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't have the old modules, but the problem is every module I do is the same as the old ones, but with the most updated information. And I hate to get people confused, so that's why I replace them with the new modules. I think you're better off that way, but you know, anyways, we'll see what happens. All right, well, that's that. All righty. All right, so we're gonna talk about how the pay-per-click budget works, which basically, I'll just tell you how it works. So if you give a $10 bid amount, basically Amazon extrapolates that and says your monthly budget's $310. So sometimes people at the end of the month, they're like, oh my God, you know, I spent $1, but my ad canceled, or my ad's not is shut down, or it's not performing. And that's because you might have gone over to that $310 cumulatively for the month. And so basically it's going to shut you down, because it even though it's a daily budget, it basically then sets your budget for the month. So that's kind of why that's happening. There you go. So that was that. That's how the budget works. We're going to talk about mobile versus desktop. This is huge. I keep telling you guys how 65 to 70% of all purchases on Amazon are done on a mobile device. And that's going to be really important, because you're going to see how we all fail to recognize that in some critical points. We're going to talk about how we have to outspend our competition on pay-per-click. And we're going to talk about how profitability and keyword success does not equal ACoS. ACoS is not a number that I feel matters right now on this pay-per-click strategy. And in future pay-per-click, we'll talk about the thing that really matters. And basically that's cost per click. I'm going to talk about ad reports and why they're critical. We're going to run a couple of reports, make sure you guys know how to run them. And what you should do when a keyword doesn't work, and and get rid of it fast. Talking about negative filters, we're going to talk about increasing a bid till you find -- position. So basically, I want to just make it very, very clear. This is an aggressive strategy. It is not the strategy. There are two strategies. There's the strategy that I've been teaching everyone, which works, and we're going to actually, in module 6, we're going to teach that strategy, because that is a launch strategy. The strategy I'm teaching you today is typically, it works best after about 30 days when you have some data. But this is absolutely the most aggressive and powerful strategy out there. So I don't want you to get confused. This particular strategy is an aggressive, more advanced strategy that will really just change your business in a big way. So I don't want you all to feel like, oh my God, I got to change everything I've put together, everything I've already done. There's no need to change what you've done. You're still doing everything right. But this is like, everyone says this course is an advanced course. Well, this strategy is like a master's degree, if you will. If this is if you had a high school diploma, this is our bachelor's. This particular strategy is it's stuff that I would use. And feel comfortable with. So you should know about it. And I hope that some of the big sellers out there, or some of the regular sellers out there, you guys will love it. So I definitely wouldn't do this out of the gate. It wouldn't make sense out of the gate. Now you could, but I wouldn't do it. There's not enough data. Okay, so here's the questions. Why did the strategy change? I just said, it's an optional approach. And it's not a change, it's just a different strategy, a more advanced strategy. Everything I taught works. The reason this works so well is this relevancy in the A9 algorithm change. And I'll explain that in a second, why relevancy works. Because even though you might bid $10 for a keyword, doesn't mean you're going to get the first spot, because you may not be relevant, or you may not be ranked, or that keyword may not make sense. You may be in the wrong category. So relevancy really is having an impact. Are you going to see immediate results with this? It depends what you mean by immediate. Everybody I talk to on this call, everyone, myself included, Sarah definitely, is tinker. They like to tinker. And the more you tinker with your pay-per-click, the worse your results. If you don't let your pay-per-click go for 2 or 3 days before you see the results of a change, you're hurting yourself. So this particular process, you got to let things sit for 3 to 5 days, but then act quickly after that. But you can't act daily because this is more of a bigger picture thing. Can you summarize what it entails? Initially I said, can you summarize in one sentence what this entails? But it would be an incredibly long sentence and I would get my English teacher would give me a hard time. So the strategy takes the top 3 to 5 most profitable and relevant keywords. You'll hear me say relevant forever. And it optimizes them in a way which gives you the highest page 1, position 1 ad ranking on both mobile and desktop. Page 1, position 1 is directly tied to higher sales, and higher sales equals more velocity, which equals a higher ranking and more relevancy. It has been shown that individual ad groups, which you're going to see in a second, get more traction than combined ad groups when trying to rank and convert for specific keywords. That's a lot. That's one run-on sentence, and you're going to see how this makes sense. All right, is everyone with me right now? Sarah, have I lost anyone?
I'm with you.
You're with me?
I think lost everybody else though.
What's that?
I'm just kidding. Nope, they're all here. Gabrielle's here. Diana's here.
Awesome.
Sam. Hi, Sam.
All right.
Yep.
So you guys gotta. So this is when I first wrote this, and Sarah and I reviewed it earlier. You got to get your head around this. I'm not gonna lie. There's something you just got to be open-minded with this and totally, hopefully, understand it. And I think once you grasp it, you'll be like, wow, that really does make sense. All right. So here are the questions that we're going to have to answer today, that we want to answer. Now, in a couple minutes, after I go beyond this slide, Sarah and I are going to disappear from the screen so you guys can see this. I want to actually make this bigger. No one's complaining about the size of the screen yet. They usually, Sarah, I'm actually insulted because they usually tell me to get off the screen.
I think that's usually the Excel spreadsheets.
No, I think it's just me.
The Excel spreadsheet.
Oh, that's fine.
Jason, thanks. Keep Sarah, you can bail.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Sam, I thought you were in my corner, Sam, but that's all right. All right, so here are the questions we're going to answer today. What is your affordable cost per click? And affordable should be in quotes or soft quotes, because affordable, this is really important, and this is going to drive your ACoS, which ultimately you're going to find out cost per click is more important than ACoS. What percentage of sales are done by mobile device? I've already talked about that, but you're going to understand how that's important. How often and where and when? How often and where are you checking? That's terrible. How often are you checking and where are you checking your product's ad? Let me ask you a question. We're going to need participation here. How often do you check your mobile device to see where your ad position is?
Daily.
Daily. So this is your mobile device, not your desktop, your mobile device.
That was Lynn.
Phone. Yep. Come on in.
I guess you can see these two.
Lynn, you're an overachiever. You're an overachiever.
He's an outlier.
So, I mean, think about that, right? So let's just talk about that for a second, because you know me, I like to go on a tangent. So 65% of the sales on Amazon are on a mobile device, yet, and by the way, I'm guilty of this too, yet most people, I mean, not everyone's answered. I'm a little disappointed. I'd like for you guys, more people to answer that. Most people don't check their mobile device to see the position of their ad. And let me ask you a question. Do you guys even actually ever check where your ad is positioned?
I never thought about it as being two different things.
Right, but I mean, how often do you check to see if you're position 1, 2, 3, or 6? Most people, you look at your product position regularly, but do you ever look at your ad position?
I didn't think about it on my mobile. I thought it was the same.
Jan, I'm not talking product position. I'm talking your ad position. If your pay-per-click is for XYZ, how often are you looking to see where your product as a sponsored ad is? Most people don't, or most people just check the desktop. Most people don't focus on it, and that's a problem. So with this strategy, that's a real big deal. And I think we all got to start looking at it and understanding that 65% of the business is on a mobile device, and we've got to make sure that we're checking that. So I see the question scrolling, Sarah. I'm gonna hope that you stop me if anything that you want me to stop.
Yeah, I'm looking
because
for
I
questions.
can't. I'm easily distracted.
Yeah.
Do you know the actual bid amount which will ensure your product is in ad space 1, page 1? So everything you're gonna hear me talk about, this whole strategy revolves around your product being a sponsored ad, page 1, position 1. Not your ranking for your product for that keyword, your ad, your sponsored ad. This is super critical. So everything around is gonna revolve around that. And the question here is, do you know what the cost is to get that there? Now I'm gonna tell you, most people don't, based on the answers about how people check, how frequently they check their sponsored ad position. Most people don't even understand, and me included, by the way, don't know where their ad position is. So how would you know what it costs to get there? And I'm gonna show you how to get there. And when's the last time you looked at your ad report? That's another thing. A lot of people say not often enough. Some people say, I don't even know where the ad report is. So we're gonna talk about that. What's the key statistic when you look at when assessing your pay-per-click success or failure? What are the main purposes for auto ads? And what are the main reasons for negative keywords? How do you control your impressions? How do you control your click-through rate? How do you control your conversion rate? And why are you running out of this budget despite not hitting? I've already answered that question, so that's easy. We're already a step ahead of the game. All right, we good now? Everyone's good?
I think there was just some confusion about ad placement versus your ranking.
Okay,
So is Helium, your rankings in Helium the same mobile and desktop, but you're talking about ad placement. So I think maybe just clarify that again.
Yeah, so there's product ranking, which you get with Helium, and then there's where are your ads? And obviously you all know pay-per-click, you have a keyword and it's ad by keyword. So it's the same rank. It's not going to be ever the same ranking as your product, because your product will be on page 6, but your sponsored ad could be on page 1. There's no software out there that actually tracks, like Helium, your ad ranking. So what I'm talking about right now is where your ad appears. I don't care even where your product appears right now. It's where your ad appears. And obviously we need your ad to appear on the first page, but the question is where on the first page, or what position? If there's 6 sponsored ads on a page, what number are you? And that means also on mobile device, where are you down the list? This strategy for the keywords that you're looking for need to be position 1, page 1. So on a mobile device, this strategy has to get you to the first sponsored ad. So if you type in a keyword, you scroll through it, this strategy needs you to be that first, or it's going to make you that first sponsored ad on a mobile device, and will be the first sponsored ad on the desktop. Does that make sense? Is that better?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go down the list of terms, because a lot of people don't, and at any point, just say something in the questions if you don't understand the term or you want me to elaborate more. I'm not going to spend a whole time on it. CPC is cost per click. Every time, so there's impressions, which your ad appears. You don't pay on impressions, you only pay when someone clicks it. And then there's a cost associated with that. Click-through rate, that means how many times the product, an impression appeared, the product appeared on a search, and then how many times somebody clicked it. So if your product appeared 1,000 times, remember, you don't pay for the 1,000, you only pay when it clicks. If your product appeared 1,000 times, 10 people clicked on it, your click-through rate is 10%. And if any of you had a 10% click-through rate, not conversion, click-through rate, you don't need to have this conversation, just hang up now, because 10%, usually it's around 1 to 2%. 30% conversion rate, which we'll talk about in a second. So hopefully that makes sense. Conversion rate is how many times, the percentage of the time the person clicks the ad, then buys it. So in this case, say there were 10 clicks and 1 conversion, that means you had a 10% conversion rate. Optimally, you would have a 30% conversion rate. So for every 10 clicks, you had 3 purchases. The bid is the amount of money you put for a keyword that you're willing to pay for a click. There are typically three. Actually, let me just show this. I'm going to just show
Quick
it.
question, Sam.
Sure.
Do you know anything about how often people do dummy clicks, or if Amazon will correct bad clicks on expensive bids, especially?
So you pay for first of all, you pay for unique clicks. Does everyone know what that means? So if I clicked your ad from the same IP address 5 times, you're only going to pay once. You pay on the unique click. So are there dummy clicks? Yeah, but how you're protected against that is you're only paying once. So someone could click once every day. I think it's a 24-hour period that they do it. I'm not 100% sure. I can get back to you on that. But so a competitor can't click. They can click 10 times, but you're only going to get charged once for it. Does that make sense?
That's awesome. They think of everything.
Steve's correct in my math. You're right, Steve. You're right. All right. I'm quitting now. Thanks. Way to embarrass me. All right. So what I want to show you guys is, how's my other math, Steve? Is my other math good? All right. My 10 and 1. Yeah, that's definitely right. I could do simple math. As long as it's 10, it's less than my 2 hands. I'm good. All right. Let's go. I want to show you guys something.
Hey, it's Mike here, and we just launched version 7 of our Amazon training course, where we walk you through the process of how we sold just in the last 30 days, our first 30 days, over 1,000 products with the brand new ranking strategies that we're now showing to the public. We've trained over 1,000 students, and last year alone we did over $3.2 million online. And if you go to my site, put your credit card away, enter just your first name and your email address, I'll immediately send you a series of free training videos that walk you through the process.
All right, so when you look at the ad, right, there's 2 prices, 3 prices. Does everyone see this? Let me expand this a bit because it's kind of small.
That means we have to go away.
No, pretty soon. So do you see, everyone see this? Yes. So there's $1, $1.29, and $1.46. These are percentiles. So $1 is the 25th percentile, meaning 25% of the times at $1, you theoretically would win that ad space. $1.29 is 50th percentile, which means 50% of the time at $1.29 you would beat your competitors. And then there's a 75th percentile, which is $1.46, 75% of the time. So I just wanted to explain what that is. Under this PPC strategy, we don't even look at those. So, but I wanted you to understand when I talk about the bid. So budget, that's the amount of money you're willing to spend on a daily basis, and then aggregate it out monthly. ACoS, average cost of sales, which is equal to your ad spend divided by sales. So if you had a spend of $100 on ads, generating 50 in sales, your ACoS would be 50%, which would be 100 divided. So does that make sense? So now I'm all paranoid about my math. Impressions is the amount of time your listing appears as a sponsored ad. Clicks, the amount of times your product's clicked. Broad search, this is important. So broad search are clicks based on search terms. So if your search term was watermelon slicer and it was broad, so anything related to watermelon slicer could appear. Not only just misspelling, synonyms, but it would be variations. So it would be, fruit cutter would appear on the watermelon slicer, even has nothing to do with the word, but it's related. Now, phrase search has to keep the phrase. So watermelon slicer always has to be intact, but it could be best watermelon slicer, or in this case, like I use iPhone splitter. So iPhone 7 splitter was the keyword. Best iPhone 7 splitter would be phrase. iPhone splitter for Apple would be phrase. So iPhone splitter has to maintain the phrase integrity, so it can never be split. So iPhone 7 splitter will always have to appear, and there could be words before it or after it, but also it will include closely related misspellings, plurals, or singulars. singulars, what is plural, singulars, whatever. Exact search is, it's simple. It has to be the exact. iPhone 7 splitter is the only thing that will appear in an exact search. Okay, the other thing that's important, people get really confused about, is there's campaigns and then there's ad groups. So a campaign would be, well, I've got my watermelon slicer, PPC. So under that campaign, there'll be multiple ad groups. There'll be the auto, there'll be the manual, and in this case, there'll be a phrase and exact. There'll be a lot more ad groups. So you always want one campaign for a product and then multiple ad groups, because you want it all to roll up so you can see the statistics or the data for all ad groups. Negative keywords, that's basically you're putting negative keywords into a specific ad group to ensure that that ad group doesn't go out and look or pay for any of those words, because you typically have those words already in a different category. All right, we good? This is taking me way longer than I expected. All right, well, that's all right. Why is pay-per-click advertising a key component as a seller? Well, obviously, first of all, you're not doing pay-per-click to generate sales. Like you're not doing it to generate sales for sales. So if you get 10 sales on pay-per-click, that's not the point of really the true point of doing it. The true point of doing it is getting the 10 sales to generate velocity, to generate relevancy for your keyword. So it isn't the sales itself that you're looking for, it's the result of the sales. Because typically a good ACOS or a good a good PPC ad is at minimum break even. We're going to talk about that in a second. So pay-per-click ads drive impressions based on the keywords and the relevancy of your product. And again, if the 75th percentile bid is $2 and you bid 7, your product's not gonna your product's not gonna appear as a sponsored ad if it's not relevant. And furthermore, if it's not ranking for that keyword in helium, just general ranking, it also won't appear. So your product has to be ranking for a keyword in order for you to even have a shot of relevancy and a shot of appearing. Yeah, does that make sense before I go on here? Because now it's going to start to get fun. Okay, I'm not even looking at the questions, so hopefully if there's any, you're going to tell me.
I got your back over here.
It's awesome. That's why this is so important today, because I really want to focus on this because I don't want to forget anything. So pay-per-click, I'm going to talk about a snowball effect here. And this isn't, you can't prove this. There's no statistic around proving this. But I personally have seen, if I don't have a pay-per-click ad, and I've tested just Facebook and no pay-per-click, I feel you get more love or more like ranking, I call it ranking juice from Amazon by spending money with them. You can't prove that, but I don't know, it's anecdotal. So I'm going to go with it. I still think that I would think it would be foolish never to have a pay-per-click ad ever. And I think you should always have a pay-per-click ad, just more refined ones as time goes on. So they're actually pay-per-click ads. What's good about them, in addition to them driving sales, driving velocity, driving relevancy, is it's like a barometer of how your product or how your ads are doing and what's wrong with your listings, because there's enough data in the pay-per-click that you can determine if you have a problem with your ad. If you have a low click-through rate, you immediately know there are things that there's 5 actually things that can be addressed immediately to fix your click-through rate. The only way you'll know about your click-through rate is by having pay-per-click ads. So that's one of the reasons to always run pay-per-click ads. Now, if you have a high cost per click, your product's underperforming, which means you're less relevant, your conversion rates are low. Because think about this. If you're Amazon and I have a 30% conversion rate and I'm bidding $3 for a keyword, you have a 10% conversion rate and you're bidding $8 for a keyword. Amazon's going to rather me is going to take my bid over yours because I have a more likely chance of selling, and they'll get their 15% and stuff on that. So that's back to relevancy. If you're underperforming in your conversion rate, which is ultimately meaning you're probably underperforming in your click-through rate, you're less relevant to Amazon, which means it's going to cost you more. It's going to be more difficult for you to be in a high sponsored ad position.
Hey, Sam, what did you say was a good click-through rate?
There's no number for that. There's no statistic out there. Nobody will put their name on it. I will tell you that people that I've respected that sell a lot are 1 to 2%. So, but it's relative, right? Because if you have 500 impressions and you're at 1%, that's terrible. But if you have it's not terrible, but you're not really accomplishing anything. Versus if you have 10,000 at 1%, so it's kind of a relative term, and that you might have a low click-through rate but a high conversion rate for a variety of reasons. So it really depends. Click-through rate is one of the only statistics that there's just it's so variable depending on the product, depending on the category. So 1 to 2% is a really good click-through rate. I know on my best products, when I'm at 1 to 2%, I'm performing pretty high, which also means that your conversion rates are always extremely high when your click-through rate is high. So I can only talk from my experience. Do you know what yours is, Sarah?
I don't want to brag, but it's around 40%.
Yeah, not your click-through rate or your conversion rate?
Click-through.
No, your conversion is 40%. There's no way.
No, remember we looked it up.
There's no way. So you're saying 1,000, if you have 1,000 impressions, 400 people are clicking your product.
No, you're right. I'm wrong.
Of course.
Way to embarrass me.
Well, you said you didn't want to brag. All right. So see how fun this is having other people. I've totally lost. What I don't like is I've literally totally lost my question box. And even though I'm not looking at it, I want to every once in a while look at it. All right.
We have another question. Does running coupons also contribute to conversion rate and rank juice like PPC ads do?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Coupons are amazing for click-through rates, because click-through rate is not just about your ad, right? It's about how, and I don't think I did a good job explaining that. It's how many times people click on your listing wherever it is, right? If it's an ad, that counts as your click-through rate. If you're number 5 in ranking, that's your click-through rate. So when you have a sponsored, when you have a coupon, you're gonna boost your click-through rate, because typically people are taking the majority of people taking a coupon are going to purchase your product. Remember, we get about 50% conversion rate on Facebook, which is going to really give you a high click-through rate. Does that make sense? So the people go into your product, remember with the 2-click URL especially, the people go into your product, and that's why the 2-click URL is important. That's a great question. That's why so if you think about the 2-click URL, it's generating your product on a search page. It's not going right to your product. So that person's clicking your product and going in and buying it. So your click-through rate in that example is 100%. They clicked it and bought it, right? So it's a 1-for-1. So when you give those coupons away, you're automatically doing a good job helping your click-through rate go up, which helps your conversion rate go up because they're going to buy it, which helps your relevancy. So that's why we go back to why that we've never really sat there and talked about why 2-click URL are important, but hopefully now it makes sense. Anything else? Did I make that clear? I think so. No? You guys have any questions, let me know. I am going to get rid of myself on this camera because I'm distracted. So, Sarah, you can stay on if you want.
I don't want to stay on.
All right, we're going to come back, though. We're going to come back at the beginning of Module 6. So, that's awesome. All right, see you.
Good, I can eat my pizza now.
Yeah, you know how to click off your camera?
Nope. Oh,
you click on the camera.
There we go.
There you go. All right, here we go. So, so hopefully that makes sense as far as the why click-through rate's important, and yes, why Facebook ads and anytime someone goes directly to your 2-click URL, clicks your product, and then buys it, will definitely give you an amazing click-through rate, which is why your ad's going to be placed better, which is why your ranking is going to be better because your relevancy is higher. Amazon sees you as, wow, every time someone sees this guy's product, they click on it and buy it, and you have a higher percentage of that, which means you're going to be a higher percentage than the rest of people. So velocity isn't the only variable that gets your ranking. It's all this other stuff and contributes to the relevancy. All right. All righty. So we talked about that snowball effect, and this is just talk about, let's just talk about an ad now, because that's what we're talking about. So you got a pay-per-click ad, impressions for specific keywords you're trying to get for. Then you get clicks. That generates conversions. That generates velocity, and that ultimately generates your ranking, your sales, your velocity, and relevancy. So the key takeaways here: pay-per-click ad reports tell a story. We're going to look at that in a second. Is your listing compelling, which means is your click-through rate high? Are you indexing for a particular word? If you're not indexing for a word, you're not gonna, the pay-per-click, you're not gonna rank, or you're not gonna get, your ad is not gonna appear for that word if you are not ranking for the word itself. Does your listing convert, cost per click, and your conversion rate? Is your listing relevant? And you'll know that by how many impressions you get. If you get 0 impressions and you're bidding high, you're gonna realize that your product is not relevant in that, for that keyword. So that's important. So if you do nothing else, if you don't even go forward with this pay-per-click strategy, you need to do you can do the following. You can improve your click-through rate, which means improve your listing. Now we're going to talk about that in module 6. I'm not going to dwell on that right now. But by improving the photo, title, price, reviews, and position, you will improve your click-through rate. Those are all controllable. You've got to reevaluate your keywords. If you have keywords that aren't performing and cost you money, pause them. Don't continue to try to work on them. Pause them. Focus on spending the money on the keywords that work. Same thing if it's generating sales, but your cost per, it's costing you money every time and you're not generating the sales to justify it, you should pause them. Focus the money and the spend on words that are working for you. Because remember, the higher you rank on a keyword, the more velocity you're going to get, and the more velocity you're going to get means you're going to rank higher on other keywords. You can always come back to that keyword in a pay-per-click and start it up again. Pausing doesn't mean ending it. It means just pausing it. Once you rank higher, you'll see that you'll automatically begin ranking higher on those keywords, and then you can reinvest in that keyword on a pay-per-click basis. You'll probably pay less because you're more relevant, and you'll have more success. Okay, I'm not going to go through this. Those are okay, so let's talk about the strategy, and I'm going to do some of this live. Are there any questions right now? Let me actually go back to this. So you're gonna know all the answers. I want to show you guys how to obtain page 1, position 1 for your top 3 to 5 keywords on mobile and desktop. You're gonna understand what bid amount it's going to take to get to page 1, position 1. You're going to understand what your maximum affordable cost per click is. Why ACoS is not the number to focus on. I've already explained that to you guys. What patience and aggressiveness is the key. But it's not. This strategy is not for the faint of heart. You're going to see that in a second. Why? I am so against when people tell me they outsource their pay-per-click. It drives me crazy. Unless you had like 30 items, there's absolutely no reason to outsource your pay-per-click. You should. This is such an expensive part of your business. Think about it. What do you spend the most money on? And this is, any Amazon seller, their product, their FBA fees, and their pay-per-click. Those 3 are the most that you spend your money on. Once the product's at Amazon, you already have spent your Facebook and your you spent your FBA fees and your cost of goods. That's already done. The thing that you can control the most at that point is your pay-per-click expense. And this is where people go out of business. They just spend way too much on this. And then you need to utilize your daily budget judiciously and focus on the keywords that matters and not others. People just want to just stick to a keyword because they're seeing some movement, but it's just not doing them any good. Because remember, if you're spending money on a keyword that isn't performing, you're taking money away from a keyword that is performing. And that's just, you don't want to do that. Okay. All right, there's some questions here. What do we got? The click-through rate is not very clear. Well, so the click-through rate, yeah, because it's important. So let's just do it. Let's just do it here. It's easy to do it live and kind of show you what I'm talking about. Because I understand this is an important concept. I need everyone to get. So if I type in, watermelon slicer, right? Water. So this is one of your key. Say this is my keyword, watermelon slicer. Okay. So right now, all these appear. so there's how many on this page? So there's 24 competitors on this page, not including sponsored ads. So the competitor I pick, that means this small ad or this small listing, not the ad, the ad's another thing too, but it means whatever one I pick, that means this person, however many impressions they had that day, they got a click from me. So that's your click-through rate. So that means if your ad appeared if your listing appeared 1,000 times, in the case of understanding it from a pay-per-click, your ad appeared 1,000 times, how many people clicked it? And the higher the number that clicked it, the higher the click-through rate. So, and the only reason people will click an ad over another is because you look at the 4 things you see on this ad. You see the picture, and this is against the policy for Amazon. That shouldn't even be here. You see the title, and look at the title. It's actually, you can see how you're limited to characters, the price, and the star rating. That's the only way. Those are the 4 things that be controlled to get someone to click your ad. So, and a better click-through rate equals better conversion rate and a lower cost per click. So it all starts here. So when I keep saying 4 pillars, picture, title, price, and rating, that's what people are going to decide why they're going to decide to click on you over everybody else. Okay.
Sam, you've got some questions over here.
I do. Never, Ishan, I never ever do bid plus, ever. I want to control the bid. So more impressions. So this is a good question. So say you're spending $10 a day, right? And you're getting 1,000 impressions and your click-through rate is 1%. So $10 a day, 1,000 impression, your click-through rate is 1%. That means for every $10, you're going to get 10 clicks, okay? So $10 equals 1,000 impressions, 10 clicks. Is that the right math? 10 clicks, 10, yeah, what's 1% click-through rate. So theoretically, that 1% click-through rate, if you do nothing to your ad, if you don't change your picture, your title, your price, or your rating, if you do nothing to your ad, that 1% will be the same if there's 2,000 impressions, 3,000 impressions, 4,000 impressions. And the only way you can control impressions is by the price or the dollars you spend on a daily budget. So if $10 gets you 1,000 impressions, theoretically, you know, again, if you do nothing to those 4 pillars, $20 is going to get you 2,000 impressions. But your click-through rate isn't going to go up because your click-through rate is not going to typically change unless you change those 4 pillars. Does that make sense? Everyone cool with that? Perfect. Diana, we're going to talk about the 4 pillars in much greater detail here shortly. So I knew, because that is so important to me that nothing works without a good click-through rate. And your click-through rate doesn't exist without those 4 pillars. All right, so to start this strategy, you're going to have 30 days of data. You never want to delete, change, or pause anything you already have in place. You should leave it alone. You're going to generate your ad report for the past 30 days, maximum 90 days. And to generate your ad report for those that don't know it, you go basically into your Seller Central. And you go into, my computer's so slow. Wow. Okay. And then you go to advertising, campaign manager, and you just do click ad reports. And then you run it for, you always want to do search term reports. You can name it whatever you want. You can do last month. You can do customized for whatever period of time you want. And then you create the report. It will generate it. I ran this report earlier, so we'll just generate it. I'll show you what it looks like. You guys should be checking this at least weekly, at least. You should be checking your ads themselves daily. And don't tinker daily, Sarah. So this is what the report's going to look like. It's pulling up right now. Why check then? Because you always, if something is totally askew, Jason, like there could be something crazy. Because if you're running out of ad dollars, there's something happening and you should know about that. When I say you should check daily, you're checking for the oddities, you're checking for the stuff that is the outliers. You're not checking to tinker, you're checking to see what's going on. Now, if you're out of budget, then you have to figure out why you're out of budget and then maybe address that. Because anytime you're out of budget, you're losing impressions, you're losing an opportunity for click-through rate. So you should check for outliers. There are times when I run out of budget and I realize that one keyword is just killing me, and then I got to do a little deeper dive. Plus, you should know if, when I say tinker, I mean tinker with what's in place. But if you're ranking, and we've talked about this, and I'll talk about it in a different module as well. If your ranking has changed on a keyword that you didn't expect, say you were a 200 for a keyword that's highly searched, but now all of a sudden it's on the first page, it happens overnight, this all happened to all of us, I would then go into my pay-per-click and do more aggressive, pay-per-click strategy with that particular keyword. So that's why you should always be engaged with it. All right, Jason, does that make sense? So this is what the keyword report is going to look like. It's going to have all this data. And you should be looking at it. It'll tell you how many sales over a 7-day period for a particular keyword. And you're going to use that to determine the most profitable keywords over a 30-day period. And that's how it's going to drive your decisions going forward. All right. So hopefully you've all seen that report. And so from that, you're going to determine the top 3 to 5 keywords which have the highest sales, and ultimately the highest, which sales is conversion rates. And it always should include your budgeted keyword, because that's the keyword you're trying to rank for. Unless you should always, the keyword that you're trying to rank the most for should be in this 3 to 5 keywords. Oh crap. I wanted to show you guys this and I have to download it again. Oh man. Sorry. I want to show you there's a difference between the search keywords and the customer keywords. And it's important that when we do this analysis, you know the difference. So give me a second. Wow, this is so this is super important. So I'm not going to keep looking at the clock because it's more important that you know this than I rush it. So you have a keyword right here. I'm going to expand this because it's kind of small. All right, so you have keyword, which we're going to highlight, and then you have customer search term. So what's in column F, this column here, those are the keywords you're bidding on. Watermelon slicer, these are the general keywords. These are the ones that you've put in the ad. But these are what the customers typed in. And because it's broad, remember how I said it's going to be generally related to the keyword? So in this case, a customer typed in watermelon pot slicer, and the bid for watermelon slicer actually got applied to that. So you want to look and understand which customer search terms are generating the most revenue. And typically they're going to be the exact phrase, although, that's just typically what they're going to be. But there might be something that pops up here where you'll be like, wow, I sold, watermelon slicer, obviously we know is the customer term and the keyword. But you'll find sometimes watermelon knife slicer. Maybe that's a keyword that I hadn't thought of, that now I want to put in a keyword and it wasn't in there. So you got to look at this report, but you got to know the difference between the keyword that you're bidding for and the keyword that's related to that the customer typed in. Cool? Sarah, am I on track here? Am I doing all right?
Yeah, you're good.
How's that pizza? All right. So, and you always have to be ranked. Those 3 to 5 keywords, you better be ranked for them. I mean, here's the deal. As I said earlier, if you're not ranked for a keyword, your ad's not going to appear. Your product's not going to appear for that keyword in a sponsored ad. It's not relevant. If you're not ranked, that means you're not relevant, period, right? I mean, that's that for that keyword. The keywords that have the lowest conversion rate, I don't know why it says this. The lowest conversion rate should be paused. The highest conversion rate should be focused on. All right, so now here's another, this is another critical item, is you need to determine your break even or max spend for profitability. I don't want to waste anyone's time. Can you just really quick tell me, does everyone understand or know how to get their conversion rate? I mean, I've gone over this like 10 times, but if anyone needs me to do it, let me know. I'm going to assume everyone knows where to get and how to get their conversion rate. Okay. If you don't, we'll talk offline. But so once you find out what your conversion rate is, my conversion rate for the watermelon slicer was 28%. Okay. And my profit was $4 a unit. Okay. So what does that mean? That means I can afford 3.6 clicks. All right. Does that make sense? 3.6 clicks. Basically, there's 28% out of 100%. That means 3.6 clicks to equal 100%, which means I can afford to pay $1.11 per click, which is $4 divided by 3.6. My max or ideal bid, forget max for a second, because on those 3 to 5 keywords, it's going to be above max, but you're going to see where I use my ideal bid for certain keywords, which will ultimately drive my ACoS to a rate that makes sense. So that's why I say your bid is really critical to driving your ACoS. So in this case, my ideal bid is $1.11 for this product. Okay. Does that make sense? If this is unclear, this is a really important statistic. You take your conversion rate, you take 100% divided by your conversion rate. That's how many clicks you're basing this on, and then you divide your profit by the number of clicks, and that's your ideal bid. Okay, so that's why I told you earlier for what I'm going to show you on the manual broad for the 15 top keywords. You're going to use your ideal bid for them, not the percentiles. In this particular strategy, you're not going to use the percentiles that they give you. So that's why that's important for this strategy. But you should know that anyways, because if you look at my watermelon slicer, and we already know $1.11 is my was my affordable or the right number to use. If you look at let's look at enable, because I did this specifically to show you guys. You can look at this and say, all right, look at my cost per click. Overall was $1.07. So I did well, right? I didn't kill it. My ACoS was still high, but I don't really care, right? I mean, because if I can generate sales at a break even and get higher ranking, that snowball effect takes it. Now, obviously I would tweak this and do better with it, probably get rid of some keywords that were underperforming. But the bottom line is your ACoS tells one side of the story. Your cost per click, you need to get it under what you can afford as a break even. And then ultimately everything else falls into place. And I could totally get this number down if I started to dig into the underperforming keywords. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, so we're gonna do this live. I'm gonna do this with you guys live and and literally show you how this pay-per-click strategy works. All right, so I'm using a product. And I have to do it with a product I used to sell. I no longer sell, but it's a product I have live, and so I can kind of show you I can show you how the ad strategy works because it's a live product.
Hey,
so the
Sam,
first,
you have a couple questions if you want.
Sure.
What value do you require to be considered ranked?
I mean, if you're beyond 306, that's not ranked. If you're on the board,
what's
put it this way: the higher your ranking, the more relevant you're going to become, and the less you're going to end up spending for the ad. If you're not ranked at all, forget about it. But if you're on page 10, the guy on page 1 is going to pay less on his ad than you are because you're less relevant. So you're going to get better performance if you focus on keywords you're ranking pretty good on. That's why you don't want to do this after 30, before 30 days. In Israel, that's a question I'm not going to answer because there's no ideal ACoS. The ideal ACoS is, the ACoS is the result of your cost per click. There's no ideal. I mean, if you look at statistically, they're going to say the ideal ACoS is 50% of your average, average profit. So if I'm making 30% margin, your ideal ACoS is 15%. But here's the deal. For me to get position 1, page 1, and just explode my velocity based on, based on sales and ranking, and it means I break even on my ACoS, that's fine with me. Or even if it's costing me a little bit of money, because you got to remember, it's not about driving ACoS, it's about driving velocity. Now, anything over 100%, I will tell you, should be dumped. You should pause that particular keyword. But for the most part, and that's just a guide, for the most part, you're focused on keeping it under your desired spend per click. Because in this particular strategy, it's really about driving a boatload of velocity and having maximum exposure. All right, cool. Any other ones? I think that was it, right?
Yeah, that was all.
So, all right, so I'm gonna show you guys, let's just start with this product. This is always fun. All right, so hold on here. I'm gonna just pull. All right, so the product I used to sell was a wireless plug. I'm a tech geek, so I used to sell this product. All right, so I'm just going to show you guys the product, what it looks like. I actually have it. I mean, where is it? Where are you? So I'm merchant fulfilled, so I don't want to get into that right now. So I can actually show that I have a product and still get it listed. That's a whole nother strategy for another day. That's another deep dive strategy. So here's the product. I've got it priced so high because I actually don't have any of the products. So if I actually did sell this product, I'd have to buy it from someone else. Doesn't matter. But I did this to show you guys. I'm going to show you guys another strategy later on. But so this is like the product that I'm going to show you how to create an ad for. And the reason I'm showing it on an active product is you really can't create an ad for a product that's inactive. So, all right, so I'm going to try to do a split screen, guys, here, because it's the only way this is going to work so that I can show you. All right, so I want to keep both of these on the screen. I know it's not ideal, but we're going to have to kind of deal with it. Otherwise, it won't make sense. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is you're going to go to advertising, right? Campaign manager. All right. I'm just going to shrink this just a little. It's a little too big. All right. And I showed you the watermelon here, but we're gonna pause these watermelons just to get them out of our screen. All right. So the first thing, I'm going to walk you guys through this real quick, and then I'm going to do it. Okay. So I'm going to want you to see all of it. So the first thing you should do is you're going to create a manual campaign. Well, I was doing this on Watermelon Slicer, but I'll do Watermelon Slicer. That's fine. Doesn't matter really. But I have, I have the data on the Wi-Fi plug, so I'm going to do the Wi-Fi plug. So the first thing you should do is create a manual broad campaign, which we typically do today, which it's the same exact thing that all of us are doing today, but they will not include those 3 to 5 focus keywords. Remember, the 3 to 5 best performing keywords, these 15 to 20 will not include those. If they include them, you're going to have to put negative, but just don't include them in the manual. It just makes life easier. So basically, let's do it. Let's create the first manual campaign. It's very simple. So we'll create a campaign. Remember, we're going to start with creating a campaign, and this is the high level. So we're going to just call this, we'll call this Wi-Fi plug campaign, right? Very simple. I'm going to put my daily budget at $30. We're going to talk about daily budget in a second. We're going to do manual, and then we're going to go down. And now my first ad group, so that's the campaign. My first ad group is going to be Wi-Fi plug Wi-Fi plug broad all, okay? And I'll show you why that's all in a second. So then you're going to add the device, the product, and then you're going to enter keywords. Forget the default bid, it doesn't matter. Well, for this case, you could do the default bid as $1.11 because we know that's the number we want, right? So if you're going to be sort of conservative on this, you'd go $1.11. I might go higher, but whatever, it doesn't matter. So we're going to put, for the case purpose of this conversation, we'll put our affordable price. And then I'm gonna get my top, I'm gonna get 15 keywords. Actually, we're just gonna get, I gotta get them, it's gonna take a second, I'm pulling up it. Just for the sake of this discussion, we're gonna get 15 keywords that are not my top 3. Okay, we're gonna put them in here. Doesn't matter, none of this matters. And we're gonna add the keywords. You guys all know how to create a deal. And $1.11 is gonna appear, right, on all of them. So bam, launch that campaign. That's done. So that ad group is done. So ad group 1, this particular deal, we've completed it. Done, right? Just so I'm doing it at the $1.11. Some people will get a little more aggressive and they'll go to the high end. It doesn't matter to me, because you want to see what happens the first 3 to 5 days. The next time around you could get aggressive. Okay, so now let's go back to Campaign Manager. So our campaign, remember, was a Wi-Fi plug campaign, and here's our ad group. The first ad group is broad all. So now we're going to create another ad group, remember, under the campaign. Now these are going to be our focus ad group. So these are going to be the 3 keywords that I've identified as ones that I want to get ridiculously aggressive on, that I want to achieve page 1, position 1 on both the mobile device and your desktop. So these 3 keywords are going to be my focus, page 1, position 1 on both of those. So we're going to call this one Google Home. Okay, so this is a keyword, Google Home phrase. Okay, so you're gonna so for Google Home is going to be one of the 3, and you're going to create basically an ad group for individual words. So you're going to add, so focus ad group 1. I had this all set, and I'm not trying to confuse you guys. So Google Home will be an ad group phrase. Then there's going to be Google Home, which would be an ad group broad. So let's watch. So watch how I do this. So we said Google Home phrase, right? So we're going to pick the product. I pick the product, and I don't even care about the default bid here because we're going to go and change that in a second. And we're going to make this, remember, it's phrase. So this one's going to be phrase, right? So we're going to select phrase, and we're going to put in Google Home, right? Create an ad group. Oh, shoot, what did I do wrong? Oh, I got to add the keyword, okay? So we see that this is usually wrong, by the way. So I wait to put a bid in until I actually go in and after the fact. So we'll just create the ad group there. Okay, so 1 per 1. Okay, so now we're going to do it again. I'm just going to, I'm going to do this for 1. You're going to realize you're going to do this for 2 or 3 more, but I'm just trying to do it for, I'm going to do it for the first focus ad group. And so remember, still got Google Home. I did Google Home phrase. Now I got to do Google Home broad. Where's my campaign? Oh boy. Wow. Okay, so here's the campaign. I don't know why. I just had to move it to appear. All right, so your campaign is Wi-Fi, remember that. So now we have, Jeepers creepers. So we have the Google Home phrase and we have the broad all. So now we got to create another ad group, and it's going to be Google Home broad. Okay, so we're going to call it Google. And this is going to be a lot of ad groups, right? I don't usually do this many, but you want, again, you want it to all roll up to the to the same campaign so you can track the data. And so we're going to enter keywords. Remember, we're going to keep it on broad. So Google Home. Okay. So create a, oh shoot. You got to add the keyword, create the ad group, and that's it. So now you would do this 2 or 3 more times depending on how many you had. Okay. So this one I would have had Google Wi-Fi and home automation. So I would do this again for And by the way, the other thing I want to tell you, I'm going to start uploading the PowerPoints as well on the weekly underneath the module, so you'll have the PowerPoints in addition to the video. I know a lot of people have been asking me for that. So, and my third would be home autumn. I don't know if there's any questions at all, Sarah. I'm just assuming
Nope, you're good.
Either I lost people.
Yes, thank you. Fantastic. Thank you. Sweet. Perfect. We got a lot of raving fans over here.
All right, so I do this again for Google Wi-Fi. I do it again for home automation, right? If I was to do 3, if I was to do 5, I'd pick 2 more keywords, period, end of story. All right, so now we're not done yet. So now we have to go back, and you could do this up front or whatever. I do it at the end because I don't want to lose track. And so you're gonna then go into your the broad campaign, and you're gonna put hold on. Nope, that's not what I wanted. And you're gonna go into the keywords, and you're gonna put those 3 keywords that you, or 5 or whatever, and you're gonna make them negative, okay? So we're gonna do Google Home, Google Wi-Fi, if I was to have done that, and home automation. And so you're gonna do them, you'll do them negative phrase, and then you'll, and that's all you really need. You don't need to do negative exact. You'll do negative phrase. If you want to do negative exact, you can. It doesn't really matter. I would probably do it. So I would add these keywords for negative phrase, and then I do them for negative exact. And the reason for this is you don't want to be, I don't know if it'll let you do it. It's not letting me do it. So that I'd go in again and I'd add, see if it, hold on a second. See, the reason is you don't want this all campaign to even worry about this because you've got these covered. You want to spend money on them to be, because what happens is the theory is, and it seems to work with the data, is that if you're running ads separately, ad groups separately, that these Google Home phrase and Google Home broad are going to perform better than if they were in this total group with all the keywords. And so the question would be, why don't you do all of them individually? And the reality with that is then you're now focused on keywords that may not perform. So that's why you're doing this with the top keywords. And this is what works to help you destroy the competition, page 1, position 1, because you can't afford to do it for all of them as well. So you want to do this for the key ones, and you'll see your sales go up dramatically and your ranking overall go up dramatically. So so once you've done this, this is where it gets interesting, okay? So now you have to go and figure out what it's going to cost to get each of these words page 1, position 1. So what you do here is the first thing you do is just go at some number higher than this, right? I'm not going to do this because my product, I don't know where it's ranked. Actually, I do know where it's ranked. This would take too long to do. So you're going to go $2. You're going to wait a couple minutes, see what position it appears in the ad on the mobile and the desktop. If it's not page 1, position 1, go to 250. And you're going to keep doing this until it appears page 1, position 1. Again, that's why, and it's just for these 3 to 5 keywords. And these should be ones, again, that you're ranking. If you're ranking highest for them, you're probably selling, your conversions are probably high, so this will work. But if you're like position 300 and you're really not relevant and it's not converting, this is not going to work. It's going to work best if you have a high performing, because Amazon sees you as a high performing keyword. You're high ranked, so you're relevant. So you'll get page 1, position 1 at a cost. And there'll be some cost. Say it's $5, right? Could be $5. And say, okay, then you do $5, right? Say it's $5. You finally get to $5, and you go there. You're page 1, position 1. You come back and you go 30 cents higher, just to secure it, right? And you're gonna do this. You're gonna do this for the broad and the phrase for each of the 3 keywords. Figure out which gets you to page 1, position 1. Now this is where people have heartburn. and this is why it's really like the most aggressive thing. Your daily budget for the first few days has to never run out. So you might spend $200 a day. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like, this is to get you, I mean, you may only spend $50, but you got to put it high enough that it doesn't run out. And again, this isn't a long-term strategy. This is a strategy that will get you to a point, but it could be, if it's producing sales, this is going to be irrelevant, and it will produce sales. If you're page one, position one on your mobile device and your desktop, your sales are going to go through the roof. It's going to be a short-term like spend, but it's going to have a massive, massive impact on your sales. So here's the description. So then you're going to create an auto campaign, and I'm going to talk about the auto campaign is really, really easy. Okay, so it's not really a campaign. We're going to do an ad group. Okay, was it? No, it's not going to let you. My bad. So, oh God. Yeah, so you're going to have to create a separate campaign for the auto, but it's going to be important that in the auto, I'm not going to do it. You guys are going to have to take my word for it because this is running long. In the auto, you have to do reverse phrase and reverse exact for all your manual keywords. That includes the 15, includes the 3, because you only want the auto to find keywords that you haven't even looked at. But more importantly, the auto is really just to get your product on a competitor's page. That's really what you want the auto for. You don't want to lose those sales. You can put a finite number in that. You can put $10, $15, whatever, but you want to put reverse negatives on for all keywords in your auto. Okay, don't limit your budget, and you can limit your ad spend on auto. I said this was an aggressive one, and I meant it. Okay, and then once you figure out, I talked to you guys about figuring that out. Move it up 40 to 50 cent increments till you get there. And you do want to check this daily, not to tinker as much as to make sure that dollar amount's still getting you page one, position one. So I guess I'm out talking myself, because if it's not, you are going to have to change it to get page one, position one. So in this case, for this first 3 to 5 days, you're going to have to tinker, because if it changes, typically won't change, but if it does, you want to make sure you're still getting. You don't want to start out page one, position one and end after a day, because then all that money and aggravation, you got to stick with this. And then you should wait 3 to 5 days before doing anything. And you got to make sure your keywords are page one, position one. That is critical for this to work. Auto campaign we talked about. The manual 15 to 20 keywords are not the focus. Any keywords after 3 to 5 days that are 100% ACOS, pause them. Any keywords that you're spending money on after 3 to 5 days that aren't generating anything or haven't generated anything in those 3 to 5 days, pause them. If your ad runs out of budget, you are hurting yourself. Don't do that under the strategy. You guys know how to get your ad report. The data points, you know what the data points are to determine your success. Click-through rate, cost per click. The purpose of negative words, there's no reason to have multiple ad groups looking for the same keywords. That's why we do that. The only way to control impressions is by either a higher keyword bid or a higher campaign spend. Control your click-through rate is with a great listing. How do you control conversions? Once they click the product, you have to wow them to sell. So those 4 pillars, which we're going to talk about in Module 6, are how you get them to click on your product. Then when you get them in your product, you got to close the deal. Bullets, descriptions, additional photos, and everything else there. My keyword bid is crazy high, but I'm still not page one, position one. Either you're not ranking high enough, or that keyword hasn't converted for you in the past at all, and it's not relevant. If you're not ranking, you're not converting, that keyword, your product is not relevant for that keyword, and you can't get this to succeed unless your product is relevant for the keyword. Oh, I know I blew through that at the end. I'm not rushing, but you guys are gonna have to watch this again. I mean, I told you guys at the beginning, you're gonna have to get your head around this a little bit. So let's absorb that for a second and ask some questions.
Yeah, so Israel's asking headline search ads. Do you recommend those or just normal ads?
So headline search ads, most people on this page, do not have headline search ads. That's if you're brand registered, or I actually have access to brand that's a different process. This PPC ad would be actually in addition to that. That's a different, because if you're brand registered, you're also going to want to do ads on your competitors page. That's a whole different strategy. But for the majority of the people on this call, this is a strategy. But I would do this as well as headline search ads, because actually headline search ads are super cheap compared to this process. But that's a different conversation. I don't want to confuse people with that. What else?
I think that's it. Makes perfect sense. Oh, here's one from David.
No, so when you run an ad report, you're going to get your auto and manual. The only thing you're going to sort out is if you have multiple products, you want to look at one product. You want to look at the data from all of your campaigns and determine what keywords are converting. Do you need to do it for 30 days? No, I would prefer you do though, because then you could see really an overview. And because this is quite costly, you want to make sure you're focused on the right things. And by the way, you're I don't want to overcomplicate it. Your high converting keywords are probably the ones you rank the highest on anyway. So this is all going to work itself out. Any other questions? All right. Have I lost you guys? I mean, guys, you're still holding strong. Are you guys cool to, let me see what else I got here. Oh, this is the thing. If you're currently spending more than $2,000 a month on your pay-per-click on one or two products, then, and you want me to not partner with you, but you want to work with me a little bit on this, and you're willing to try this campaign, you know, I want 1 or 2 people. I'll work with them so we can track this for them and track it for the students. We won't disclose your products or anything or the keywords, but we want to track the data. So get a baseline now and go forward. So if you're interested in that, send me an email or a Voxer, and we will work together on executing this for your products and track your results. Is that fair? All right. I don't need to talk about that. All right.
I've really felt like since I've joined, this is one of the best decisions I've made in my life.
From August 2nd to September 2nd, I generated 15,000 in sales.
I did about 6K one day.
We set a goal of 300 sales in the first 2 weeks, and we met that in 8 days.
Our first 12, 13 days, we've averaged just over $1,000 per day in revenue.
Right now I've got 74 5-star reviews, bestseller ranks at 29, and I've sold in 45 days almost 500 units.
We are moving about 15 to 20 units per day right now.
We were #1 new release on Amazon within 24 hours.
The last 12 months would have been in July. I reached I guess 6 figures.
I've seen the result and I've been very impressed.
Today actually is ironic that we're making this video because we hit our biggest numbers sales organically.
We still made 150% on our investment.
By far, the level of accountability you guys bring and support to your team it's uncanny.
What you guys are teaching us changed my life.
Just mind-blowing and very helpful in helping us launch our products.
We were able to create an entire business from scratch with no knowledge before, really, of how to sell on Amazon.
It gave us basically a roadmap to get involved in e-commerce without having to reinvent a wheel.
If I didn't have this training to follow, I'm sure it would be very difficult for me to research everything and to come up with a process that would work.
The way Mike and Matt teach is really a foolproof method.
The quality and integrity of the program is amazing. The clarity of instruction and the detail of instruction is really easy to follow along.
I've been amazed with how robust and how much information they have in their program.
I get so much information from the training videos, and it's incredible.
Love the modules that I can listen to them again and again.
The steps that are laid out are very much succinct and something that you can follow.
It really is good to just consistently go over and over and over the same the basics in order to get your business up and running.
Everything that you've taught me so far has been useful. I've used a number of it both in this side business and also at my day job.
You guys been helping me out with the Voxer talks, the live training videos that you guys have been sending me.
Learning that this even exists, learning the process and how to be successful
has really been great.
I like how the information can be applied to other businesses, other online ventures that you might want to do.
We love this business for the business model.
I'm just so excited to be selling online and making money in a way that I never thought I would.
I'm just excited to get this started.
If you want free time and you know how this passive income system can work, I think you'll see the same thing.
Ultimately, pour into the things that I love, and for me personally, that's my family.
I'm just grateful for you guys. I feel like you're super positive.
One of the things that you guys do is set the tone for giving everything you've got.
You go above and beyond.
They aim to over-deliver. They don't need to do as much as they do, but they do it anyway.
Mike and Matt are just regular people. Successful, but willing to share the knowledge and help us become successful too.